Okay. I think we're working. Morning, Bill.
Hey, what's happening, bro?
Hey.
Hey,
Hey.
man,
Oh, goodness. How
beastly.
do I don't even know how to get back to this thing. Hold on a second. We don't want to hear that. I'm trying to make sure I can see comments. So,
Oh, pull up the main page and you're good to go.
oh yeah, is that how the thing works? Oh, there we go.
More hoodies.
More hoodies.
That is, that's part of it for sure.
Okay, there we go. I should be able to see
Radioactive
comments
hoodies.
now.
Oh, pardon me. Happy Friday. How's your Friday?
So far,
Mhm.
amazing.
Good.
So far,
Glad
pretty
to hear.
good. What about you?
It's good. It's good. I woke up late. Took the dog out, tripped, fell down.
Oh no.
They were working on the sprinklers out, and they, had those big holes.
Yeah,
Mm, yeah, luckily I didn't
dude.
twist an ankle or something, but I just hit it, and because I have
Um,
a half husky, and so she pulls like she means it. It's not
yeah.
the husky's gonna mess around, and so she pulled me right over it, and so I didn't even see it. Just whoosh.
You need the gentle leader.
I have
The
it. I have it.
yeah.
That does work for anybody that is the only thing that has ever worked. um, but I don't use it all the time, just especially when I'm just going out in the morning to let her pee.
Yeah.
On
Yeah, that's
walks,
fair.
definitely. But
Man, I laughed because you took me by surprise. I'm not actively laughing at
oh,
your at
yeah.
your
No, it was hilarious. I wish I could have seen it.
Oh man.
But no, I'm good actually. I'm actually good. I'm feeling good. Yesterday was good. I had some good conversations. Just connected with some people I hadn't talked with in a while. Randomly, as I was, we're getting ready to. We're actually be booting up 10 tips, 10 days on LinkedIn again. Um,
Nice.
on 1010, of course.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to some of the people in the past that I've, promoted it with me and some stuff like that. So, um,
Cool.
yeah. So good day yesterday. How about you?
Yesterday was a solid day. Uh, that one that one meeting that we were talking about, and I was like, I don't know why this is on my calendar. Ended
Mhm.
up being a podcast interview for this guy who has a podcast around social media marketing agencies. We were talking about sales on there, so that was nice. I had lunch with a person who's going to be helping me out with some stuff. I think her name's Madison. She's actually Al's daughter. Al's one of the co-hosts with me on Sales Throwdown, and is a huge portion of why I am in this spot. So uh, she has been at TCU on dance and is now about to wrap up. So we had a good conversation. She's actively taking real estate classes like on her own and plans to get her license like over Christmas break, even though she doesn't actually graduate until May. And I was like, oh, like you're on it. And she was like, oh yeah, she's an officer in the TCU real estate club. Like, and I was like, wait, TCU is a real estate club? And she was like, oh yeah, we do. And
Of course they do.
I was like, this is the best lunch I could have had today. So,
That's
so
awesome.
I kind of like laid out everything. I was like, here are all my projects, and she was just like, wow, that's a lot. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of a lot. And she was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, I don't know. I don't normally hire this way, so it's kind of. Do you just want to like start hopping into some Zoom calls and some meetings with me since everything is digital, and that way you can take a look, see if there's something that you like. If there's something that you like and you want to work on, we'll figure out a project and KPIs and everything else, and we'll go from there. And she was like, totally interested and into it. So that was nice because that was part of my bet this week. I had a meeting yesterday with a HR group to try to help me with like some salespeople staffing, and it didn't go the way that I was hoping it would. It went about the way that it normally does, right?
Mm.
Most recruiters don't want to touch sales because the base rates are so low that they don't really make a whole lot of money on it. They
Yep.
can be high churn. I mean, I understand why. Good morning, Levi. Good morning, Michelle. That's right. I'm running it this morning. I'm watching these comments. Jake couldn't get it figured it out. So, the less tech savvy of the two of us had to figure it out.
Sometimes it takes a hammer. You don't need a
Sometimes it takes a hammer. Man, joke of the day, done. It's not even 8 a.m. and I'm like, okay, this isn't gonna get any better. Good morning, Gabriel.
What's up? How are y'all?
Man, so yeah, a lot of staffing agencies and recruiters don't really want to work on sales things. So I need to find a good sales partner. And really, I think the thing that I need is someone who knows how to get the word out about this stuff. Like I don't really need all the vetting and HR and maybe some onboarding and stuff like that would be nice later on. But right now, I just need people who can get the word out to bring people in, because I've got all the criteria that I'm looking for, right? And I don't need help building that stuff out. I just need.
Do you maybe need someone more who is an outreach person than a salesperson? Like who can just go out
for this?
Well, your projects in general, like someone who can get out and engage in groups and try and get people to your onboard spots. Just get them there.
That's
skilled at finding those places and having conversations.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I'm not tied to. I'm going to VA that, honestly, right? Like that's kind of the VA thing that I've been looking for, right? Someone who knows the right groups, knows the right, or will spend time to go find the right places, go talk it up, and things like that. So I don't really want to do a whole lot of biz deving on these kinds of things, right? So because we have LinkedIn and we've got Facebook and we've got these tools, so I don't really want to put someone. I don't want to put a person in a place where software is going to do a really great job, if that makes sense. Because I don't really think. How do I say this? It's hard to quantify KPIs around biz dev, right? And have it tie directly to ROI.
I have two thoughts there. Because number one, I thought that biz dev was very tied to KPIs. Because that's how you know. Because even you were talking earlier this year, I think it was, about measuring people on daily activities versus outcomes.
Sure.
So that would, to me, that's what comes to mind for something like that. How many discussions did you get in? How many times did you drop a link to a lead generator or a piece of content?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that, where you're slow. Because to me, it sounds like you need somebody who's more of a mid-funnel inbound person who can engage in good conversations, like quality conversations, and drop stuff that would lead people to your universe.
Yeah.
More than someone who can close leads, because that's what you do, number one. But number two, they're cold, so you got to get them warmed up first.
That's fair. Those are good points.
Otherwise, you're just doing straight up outbound cold outreach, which is a salesperson.
We're kind of doing more of the second. The first wave for this first project, there's an influencer involved who's got a fairly sizable audience. So the first batch of calls are all going to be fairly warm, and then after that, we're going to be having to figure out the cold strategy, right? So
right. So which is why I would, since you have the warm in wave one, I'd start warming up.
Oh yeah,
group.
That's absolutely the plan. The thing about that though is, what is the thing about that? Maybe that's head trash. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I think I can be the biz dev person, kind of, right? And then I can send it to closers and account managers that we're going to be putting into these spaces and stuff like this. So my LinkedIn game is going to shift towards salespeople and back to agency owners, even though we just moved off of it. Just that way I can get enough e-com focused agency owners to look at this new tool, and that way I can send that to the team and we can hit our numbers, which is the goal. I believe that's how we're going to do that. So we'll see. But if we're going to end up building as many projects and sales teams as we're going to, I just need a really deep bench, right? And so what I told these people yesterday is they end up doing much more like head of sales roles. And I was like, okay, awesome. What about the people who don't qualify for like heads of sales roles? And she's like, well, there's not a whole lot we can do with that. I was like, why don't you send them my way? I will put them into Sales Lab for free if they're interested in this. And then if they're coachable and they show up and stuff like this, and I'm able to work with them on a project on the back end, I can, ship you something that way. But if nothing happens, at least they're getting ongoing coaching and training, so that way they might become a head of sales that makes more sense for one of your clients in the future. And she goes, well, isn't that creative? I was like, I guess, I just kind of shot from the hip with it, because you said that you don't work with salespeople, like salespeople. So I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way for us to work together. I don't know what it needs to look like on y'all's end. And she was just like, well, I think I threw her for a loop. And, well, I need to talk to my partner about that and what it
We've
would
never
look
done
like.
that before.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, like, y'all sit down, figure out like what it would need to look like for it to be worth your time, and then we can have a conversation, and then we'll go from there. Is that okay? She's like, this is a weird call for me. And I was like, oh, okay, or do you want to go talk about this with them, and then we can have another conversation, or not?
Do you need a hug, like a virtual?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it has blindsided her so hard, which was not intentional, but I've got an email introduction from someone who has been pretty successful help finding salespeople. So for an agency. So hopefully we can work together on that.
That's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
So that was yesterday. We recorded 2 episodes of the podcast last night, talked about fourth quarter woes because no one is on track. Oh, that's not exactly true, but like, fourth quarter looks drastically different depending upon the industry that you're in. Nanette and Al are slammed. Clint is tumbleweeds, and I'm kind of like somewhere there in the middle between those two things. And how, like, when do you start planning for the next year? What does that planning look like? Because this year is obviously not a great benchmark, but the factors that make it not a great benchmark kind of still exist. So it's wonky from like forecasting and planning.
It is. I was thinking about that actually after I left your house, and we had talked a little bit about next year. It's hard to project if you are looking for baselines and things. To go, okay, well, based on this, we're going to do this. When you go, well, based on this, I hope this isn't what next year looks like, so I don't want to base it on this. But what if it does look like this? This is so unpredictable, and the ways things happened. Even if I did use this, I'm not even sure that's what it's going to be next year. So it almost goes back to just like in a vacuum, what would my Q1 look like?
Yeah. We were talking about on the show last night, and Clint brought up a good point. He goes, if you've been in business long enough, go back and look at like 2009, 2010, 2011, because we're probably going to see some stuff that's similar to that. And his quota is going up next year. I think his quota this year was 24 million, and next year it's going up to 32, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty significant.
Huge jump.
Yeah. But he's at a publicly traded company, so you got to keep the shareholders happy, and constant growth and all of that stuff. So what?
Get me started on that. Yes. Got to keep the shareholders happy. Blah, blah,
Got to keep the shareholders happy. Pump them numbers, bro. Pump them.
Or you don't. Yeah. Cool. Well, all right. So today it's Friday. It's a pretty busy Friday for me. What about you?
It's a day for me. I stopped calling them Fridays. It's just a
standard John day.
Yeah, I've got a meeting with my cold email guy to talk about how we're going to cold email on this project we're working on. I have a mastermind group meeting for the real estate thing. We're going to talk comp today for setters. I've got a session with Levi today. Bring your A game, Levi. And then actually that's it. I get to block and tackle from like 2 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. and I am so excited. So excited for like a just I'm gonna block that thing out right now on my calendar. I mean, not that anybody could schedule it, but yeah, an hour and a half of blocking. I'm gonna get so much done. I'm so excited.
The best way to end your week.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a lot of like mental bandwidth tied up into this project that we're working on, but also like looking down the barrel of, a lot of very potential similar offers, right? So how do I build the process to make it easier the next time and the next time and the next time and stuff like that. So it's kind of the goal there. And I've started bringing some people in, right? Some people are hopping into the Discord channel, people that I know and trust in sales, and I'm kind of building out these two rings of people at different levels, right? So it's a little bit more focused, it's a little bit more consistent in that, and then these are people who are like, whenever I have time or a spot on a project, hey, can you help me with this? Which kind of means like essentially kind of run it, and I'm available for help and stuff like this.
Right. Gotcha.
So
Cool. I've got kind of like a John day. I got a bunch of calls.
yeah, man, it's the worst.
Yeah, you hate it. Yeah, I've got a 9, a 10, an 11:30, a 1, a 2:30, and a 4.
Dude, are you serious?
Yeah.
That's a lot for you. Wow.
It is. It is. And
are you
half of them are
already?
client calls. What's that?
I said, are you fatigued already?
Yeah. No, because I don't normally hit that fatigue that hard. I just normally don't schedule that many is all. Because I just like back to back to back to back kills me. But the eyes in there, I love that. I love talking to people. So, for sure. It's just the fatigue sets in for me. But about half of those are client calls. So it's good. I love the mix of, hey, I'm going to talk to this person I hadn't talked to, see what's up with them, see if there's any connection. And then the next call is, okay, let's talk to a client. And then the next is kind of mix that cool vibe. And then I've got blocking and tackling for a couple things from 1 to 2:30, that gap that I had. So I don't get to end my day with it, but I definitely get to geek out a little bit this afternoon towards the end of the day. And
I like batching a lot, obviously. But there is something to be said from being able to mentally move from one extreme to the other, right? Whether that's like internal team conversations to sales conversations, whether it's like a networking catch up to like a team chat to, like a call to like a deep work session. I really like that, forcing my brain to go from one extreme to the other. In Kung Fu at the highest levels, like the way that he would build the tests, it was very much around this idea of, can you ramp it up like really quickly for like a timing drill and like a distance drill, and then like scale it back down and get like really like mindful for like a form, and it was this, as hard as it was physically, right? All the tests at the higher levels, the mental component, right? Because like you can't just go blasting through a form, with the same like urgency and speed that you would, like a reactionary drill and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I see benefits to both options of that.
Yeah, for sure. I think just, you always have different mental bandwidths that you work on depending on the type of person you're engaging. So for me, it actually is a rest because you move from one type of mental work to another. I think that's probably why I like them. Because if I had to do like 6, 7 client calls in a row, I would be torched when I was done mentally. Just you tap into that same well over and over.
What's funny is I'm seeing all these article headlines with like talking about Zoom fatigue and how we're not made to do this, and this is probably terrible, but I'm kind of like, really, it's not that bad. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm an outlier in that instance. I'll be tired at the end of a day for sure, but it's not like not one more Zoom call, and maybe that's the difference of just being a salesperson or a sales focused person.
I think those articles are for corporate people more, not entrepreneurs. They just seem to be more corporate related. They're like in Money and Fortune and those type of magazines. And like, when you read the stories about like bosses that make their team sit on Zoom calls so they can watch to make sure that they're working, like stupid stuff like that. I would assume it's more like that. And then I would want to chew off the power cord of my computer.
Yeah.
But like the way I do it and the way you do it, no, it's fine. It's because I'm either doing that in person or on a Zoom call anyway, pre-COVID. So it's no different.
Yeah, that's fair.
For me.
It's really interesting to be kind of working with this larger team in some of these projects because, I think it's hard to maintain how how much control we have when it's our own stuff and how much control we give up when there's other people in the mix, right? And
I bet that's a part of the fatigue too, because if you're not running the meeting, can you imagine sitting on Zoom meetings that you have no, like you're just a participant all the time? Oh my gosh. It's not the Zoom call that's the problem. It's the meetings.
Well, yeah, and I'm really just used to running the meeting because I'm typically the salesperson, right? And it's kind of like, hey, can we set some ground rules? Yeah, okay. But we keep getting into these meetings that are, supposed to be an hour, and then it's an hour and 15, and then and one person it's like, guys, like, oh, well, and it's weird because like I'm newlywed phasing, this kind of thing. So I'm just kind of taking lots of notes and trying to shut up and trying to pick my spots, and then they were like, well, yeah, we want to use this other CRM, and I was like, no, can't do it. We're not going to be using that. And they were like, why? And I was like, I know this one back and forth, and I know it like the back of my hand, and I know we can do everything we need to do with it. It doesn't make any sense to use one that you want to use when you're not in charge of this, if that's okay. And he was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. So part of it is just knowing where to pick your battles, right? And Jocko talks about that all the time on his podcast and his books. He calls it leadership capital. You've only got so much of it, and when you try to expend it on everything, then you're just this constant fog of noise. So, not being rigid about like running meetings allowed me to like really kind of stand my ground around the CRM and the tool.
Yeah, that's good. That's true. That's a great point. Because everyone's got that person, if you've been in meetings, that just wants to chime in on everything. And every time they speak, you're like, again, really? What else? What did you learn yesterday? Now you need to tell us about? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Did Inside Baseball, did we connect with Jason? Did we get him on a calendar schedule?
We've not gotten him on the calendar. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, let's reach out to him because I like us having that kind of every other Friday guest vibe.
I agree.
Things on Fridays.
I talked to an emotional intelligence coach this week and was like, hey, would you like to come on the show? And she was like, I would love to come on the show. So I was going to talk to you about that off air, but yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
Really big into emotional intelligence and talks on some pretty big stages and stuff like that. So she would be willing. So
awesome. That's cool.
Very, very cool.
Get some people on there. That'd be good. Cool. Well, let's start next week then.
Let's talk next week. Yeah. What you got for next week, Bill?
I'm just gonna call it like it is. I have not thought about next week at all.
Okay.
Zero. And that's, I don't even know why. I'm normally prepared. So
So your bill bet for this week was, where did that go?
Pull that back up.
Jen asks the weekly plan and the walk with your son. Did all that go?
All done.
Okay.
So we got 2 walks in,
nice.
Which is good. And the asks were all done, and actually recorded a podcast off an ask this week.
Nice.
So that was really good. And that actually went really well. So that's, we talked about that on planning. We were joking about, I have a 50% close rate on my podcast right now. A sample size of 4.
Yes.
But
it was originally a sample size of 2, which was even more terrifying than a sample size of 4.
Right. But we're just starting it, so you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, it's from a bill bet standpoint, I had a really good week.
Okay. Nice.
So that's good. And it's going to be similar. It's not like what am I going to do next week? Jeez.
Yeah.
It's going to be similar type goals as it's been the last 4 to 6 weeks, because we're going somewhere, with Quirk with some stuff. And so it's going to be similar with a 10 ask probably will be the thing again. I was actually more thinking on the self-care personal side and the other stuff, making it a meaningful goal.
Yeah.
So I will have that ready for Monday morning though.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm really enjoying the 4:30 thing. I like the pressure that it puts me in to be productive as opposed to just like trying to be busy.
Mm-hmm.
But it on the other hand of it, it also feels
Mm-hmm.
maybe it should just be 5. You know what I'm saying?
Why is that?
I don't know why, right? It's weird,
So there is
right?
no reason.
Huh?
So there is no reason.
Yeah, no, there is no reason, but like 4:30 just feels it feels odd to be done every day at 4:30, right? Not in like a like must work more, but it's like shouldn't I be working? You know,
Oh,
it's
head
not
trash. Either way, head trash.
yeah, well, of course that's head trash,
Yeah.
but like it feels I don't feel like obligated and I need to work, but I feel like I should be working until
Kind of. That's
5.
what obligation means.
Yeah.
Should and obligation go in the same
Well,
referential
it's not
word
like this
category?
like it's not like this like manic need to do it. It just feels like I should be doing it. Does that make sense? It's weird. I can't phrase
Okay.
it very well.
Yeah, but now, like the John Hill I know does not just go, "Hey, convention, hello. Let me shake your hand and do whatever you say, Mr. Conventional." You do what you want to do. That's the 5 o'clock's very conventional.
It
Obviously.
is, right?
So I'm entertained. That's all. You're
So
like, but this is how it's supposed to go.
I know. I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying.
I would almost go. John would tell me he needs to work till 5:07 because that's not conventional. But then at least it's hit that.
We have some comments here.
Okay.
Michelle says that she agrees.
Oh, because an EI coach would be awesome,
Yeah.
and she agrees.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. To that. Levi says that I should be quitting at 4 p.m. Levi, it's a struggle to quit at 4:30 p.m., sir.
Hey,
Oh,
5 Eastern. You
yeah.
got East Coast covered. Good.
Hey, if you quit at 2 every day for a week, the next week, I mean, 4:30 is going to feel like.
Honestly, that's my goal.
What?
I want to work 8 to 2 and just be done at 2, and then I go hit something, frisbee golf, something at 2.
I know. I mean, that's what I'm working towards, but I need some key people in these spots around me, right?
Yep.
Especially as we're getting into some of these projects that are going to be bigger and there's more people involved and stuff like this. And I have some concerns about the balance of that, because the guy that we're working with is, he's made a lot of comments about like, hey, it's not about who works the most and everything else, but it also seems like we're like ad hocing like meetings. All right, guys, like we're gonna have a meeting in an hour. It's like, guys, I plan my day. Like,
Yeah.
Come on, can we plan a little further in advance? And it's just getting to know how the other people work and figuring out like, how it's really going to go. How about I split the difference and I say 4:45? Is that it? Is that just the total cop out?
Yep. Because the problem now is my son's in debate, and so I'm learning the rules and the fallacies and all those
Robert's Rules of Order.
Well, like if the point in your argument is that's not working till 5 seems wrong, and then and you adjust the outcome and it doesn't match your argument, then the argument wasn't important or the argument was false to begin with. Because it's not like you're having to compromise with me over something we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you're doing.
Yeah.
So that was pure. That was just pure debate rule stuff that I've learned this year.
Are you twirling a pen right now? Like as
Right.
you're no, debaters often like
Oh yes, no, I'm actually twirling these in my fingers.
Oh. You know what's really funny? This is going to be a little bit weird. I keep a stack of poker chips on my desk.
Well, that's not weird to me. I think anyone that knows you thinks that's pretty standard. It might be more weird that I have them.
Well,
but mine are.
Maybe. Oh.
So James, for those of you who don't know,
hold on.
Yeah.
Let me guess. On the back, it says "Stop gambling with your marketing." Does it?
No.
Oh.
No. Much deeper than that. James is a really thoughtful guy, and he's a really good boss and leader. And so what he has is he found something years ago that he likes about decision making, and he goes, whenever I get to a decision that seems like it's tough to me, like this one right now, 5 o'clock, right? He would pick these up, and he would go,
okay,
or so which one is it? And then he would like go, okay, is this really a big deal, or is it just like the end of the world type decision? Okay, just like to remind himself not to stress over decisions. And then it's
That's,
just kind of,
I kind of like that,
yeah,
honestly.
and so he
So
gave our last quarterly meeting, he gave everybody a set of these.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Does it help you?
It, so I think backhandedly it does, because I when I'm on calls, it gives me something to do, and when I look down at them, it just reminds me, because
I
I
like
don't
that.
I don't go sit like pick them up to make a decision, you know. But I'm on the phone so much and I have them in my hand so much. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say it helps me kind of
So
level up my.
I knew a guy, and he was in staffing, and he didn't carry business cards, but he handed out these poker chips,
Yep,
and it says "Don't gamble on your next hire," right?
yep,
And
yep.
then I have some poker chips from like Sandler training, right? And here, and then on the back it
Mhm.
says "Don't gamble" or "Tired of gambling with your sales results."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you held them up, and I was like, "There's only one way this is going."
It only goes one way. Yes. Well, as you know, we're quirky, so we don't do things a normal way.
Yeah, I like that.
That's right. All
Oh
right.
man.
Well, you do you, as the kids say.
I mean, now I feel all this pressure to just keep it at 4:30 until I'm like mentally tough about it, I guess.
I mean, the only pushback I actually even had when you said that was like, he said 4:30 is going so well and it feels good. Why would he change it?
That's a really good point, honestly, right? Because that just further exudes the fact that it's head trash, right? Limiting belief.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
mean, like, well, what's a reward you can give yourself mentally to say that's 30 minutes with Alice that I don't get if I keep going till 5 or
man,
something, you know?
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, that's fair. Um, yeah, I'm gonna stick with the 4:30 because it makes me uncomfortable. Um,
I like it.
but there's good things that come from it as well. Like it forces me to be productive. It puts like a nice little end cap on the end of my day. I mean, it's nice because the thing about it is you know before you'd be out of the house, right? So you'd have to like figure in, okay, cool, I need to drive home, so I need to be there at this
Right.
time and everything else like this.
Right.
And man, it's I don't drive anywhere really, right? So it's just like I'm just gonna work until somebody tells me not to work. And Melissa is, if it's not a week where I have one of these end time bill bets, she just lets me work until dinner, which is often 7 o'clock, 7:30 sometimes, and it's not ideal, right? I'm aware of it. I know it's a struggle, but it's just like, oh, how about one more thing? How about one more thing? How about one more thing?
What's
So
the rule you expand to the time you have? I forget
yep,
what that rule's
absolutely.
called, but
Yeah. Pareto's law. Work
there's
expands to
law,
fill the time allotted.
and it
So
always happens. Always, always, always.
always happens, and there's always more to do, right? Like there's always another task, another blocking and tackling thing. And that's why you have to build the processes, right? Like the getting things done methodology is so huge in those kinds of moments, because if you don't trust your system, then you won't use it, right? So you have to go through the process of doing it on like a small enough scale that you build the trust in the system, so that way you'll actually use it, as opposed to, oh, I got to get this done right now before I forget about it.
Well, it's like hiring somebody and then doing the work for them. It's like if you don't
Yeah.
if you don't use the system, you can't break it, which means you can't find the flaws, which means the system never gets better. So and you have to, like, in waterfall theory, you
Mhm.
have to break something. Like that is the absolute point, is you have to go in, put an iteration out of something, break it, fix it, do it again, and just repeat it until it's right where you need it to be.
Yeah.
And I think systems are a perfect example of that. Of that, you have to act before it and you are ready. Otherwise, the systems never gets completed because you're always waiting because there's always something to fix.
So I showed so Michael Ryan had seen the rebroadcast, I think, of BIL, and he saw the daily tracker sheet, and he was just like, no. It's so funny. He was like, I was tired just looking at that. And then I showed it to the people on Sales Throwdown last night as we were recording. We were kind of talking about topics, and I was like, oh, you guys got to check this out. So I showed this to them, in true to form. Nanette was like, I'm really happy for you. That's really nice. I was like, that's really cool. Let me tell you about some habits that I've not been successful with. And Clint, my friend who's the D, just goes, you know what I see? I see a lot of non-compliance up there, John. And I was like, I know. I'm aware. But if you don't track, you can tell yourself whatever bullshit story you want. So this is me holding myself really accountable, even on another level. Eventually, I think it would be cool to have these on the John Small Mountain site, so that way people can just be like, hey, how is John like actually doing with the habits that he builds? Because I talk about habit building in the Sherpa newsletter, and like there's always something I'm working on, right? It might be, being quiet in conversations, shifting the focus off myself to them, and different things like this. But I talk about a lot of different habits I'm working on, and a lot of people don't really know. I'm sure at this point, after almost a year, God, yeah, I don't know how many Sherpas we've done, but it's been a fair amount of that. I'm sure that some people are like, oh, this guy doesn't actually work on any of this stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think I told you yesterday, the day before, I see it be a cool phone app, and they could go look at their friends' charts too, including yours, like if you made it public.
Well, then, what I really like about it is bigger sample size, right? If you're working on one habit, then, you can enforce a pretty strict level of compliance, right? But it's, I'm working on a lot of different habits, right? Around like mindfulness and, meditation and some kind of wooey stuff. So, tracking that is cool, and like talking about it as an app, having some sort of weighted competition to where, cool, I'm trying to build 5 habits, you're trying to build 7 habits. Okay, so that weights in who's more consistent. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it'd be neat. Yeah, it's the only chance
I'm not going to build it. I'm saying this out loud. I'm not going to build this. This is not a business I'm starting right now. So if somebody else wants to build this business, I will give you this sheet, and then I just want free access to it, and you can charge everybody else as much as you want.
That's right. Yeah, because that's the only chance I would use it, is if it was an app and it was a button I could push. But I'm not going to get in a spreadsheet 5 times a day and pop things in. And
well, the cool thing about having a third monitor, Jake, is it just stares me in the face all day long now. It's just right here.
Oh, it's Friday Flex. I didn't realize. Okay.
Friday Flex.
Oh man.
Jake, the answer is always one more monitor or one more whiteboard. There's only
one
2
more
answers to every question. The answer to life is not 42. It's one more whiteboard or monitor.
Yeah, because then there's more room to think and plan.
Yes, more data, more Chrome windows to just like hog my processing power.
One more icon sitting on your desktop makes me vomit.
Oh,
all right. Well, next week you have your bill.
Yeah. So 4:30 again.
Okay.
Because I like to make myself uncomfortable.
Yep.
You know what? We're gonna go. Hold on. Let's see if I have anything scheduled, because I'm gonna.
Right. Exceptions.
4:15.
What?
Yeah, that's right. Levi goaded me. Goaded me, and Jake goaded me. All this peer pressure is forcing me to be better. So that look on Jake's face, that's the same look he gives his kids.
Yeah, that was a kid look. That was.
Oh man. So 4:15.
It was the goaded thing that got the dad out.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
Jake got triggered over the fact that he was goading me.
Got triggered at the fact that my dad came out when John was talking. Really? I had to give the dad look to my bill? What?
All right. 4:15 is the cutoff next week.
If that's what you want, we'll put that down.
Yeah, we'll put that down.
All right.
I have been pulling in different kind of like workout programs and stuff like this, and then the wrist has been feeling like really, really good. So I might try to get back into like some golden metal bodies stuff. But maybe I just start with like some yoga right first to really kind of get some strength back into this thing before I screw it up again. Yeah, and also with it getting cooler outside, I might shift to doing some like yoga in the mornings as opposed to going for a walk. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how I would listen to the stuff that I listen to on my walks, and that's really important to me. So,
well, you got buds, right? Earbuds?
Yeah, but I also don't know what I'm doing in yoga, so I kind of feel like I need the instruction and the guidance.
Oh yeah, okay.
So fair. I don't know. We'll see. I know a couple of people who own yoga studios, so I'm gonna reach out to them and say, hey, how are you delivering what does this look like, and kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so researching gold medal bodies, some of the jumping programs that we talked about last week. I've been saving ad files and swiping them to kind of compare them and figure out which one I want to do. There's one that's been popping up. It's called patterns is the second part, adaptive patterns or something like this, and it's along the lines of like the gold medal body stuff, but it's really focused on mobility first. I've already paid for gold medal bodies, and you get lifetime access, so I don't really know that it makes sense to spend money on something else.
That's kind of what I keep doing, because I'll find stuff. I'm like, you know what? I already have GMB. I might as well. It's great. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not happy with it. So,
yeah. So,
and their email list, by the way, if you want to get on an email list, it's really, really, really good.
They're one of the examples that I point to people to when they're like, hey, what's content marketing? Like, go look at GMB. Like,
that is email marketing at its finest.
They're
nurturing, I should say.
Yeah, but I mean, their content on their site is like, if you have tight hips, and it's like 7 pages of here's why, and here's how you do it, and here are the stretches, and here's where you see this stuff. And I mean, it is so in depth, and they're just giving away so much information about mobility. So that way, when you're ready, these guys know it, right? Like, you have that trust, and it's only because they're giving so much value, right? Like I
think they're proof that you can still build a business on a blog and an email. Like they're so good at writing content that matters to people, and then putting it out on their email list, like you said, and they have such a deep bench when it comes to content, all these subjects they're experts in, that if you find them somehow and get on their list, they're going to get a really good percentage of people to buy their courses, and they have nice offerings, and they just are so good, and it's so classic. That's why I love it, because everyone's doing all these different things, and they're like, nope, we're going to write really valuable content, and we're going to get you on our email list, and then we're going to get you to buy our program.
And just by kind of comparison, right? What is it? Gymnastic Bodies, which is like the other big name player in the bodyweight calisthenics stuff. Like, I bought one of their courses and didn't really do anything with it, and never really felt compelled to, follow up with them and stuff like this. It was very much more like this guy, Coach Somner, who's kind of the voice behind it. Whereas like GMB, it's weird. It feels like it's much more community driven. And the vibe of it is different. They do like a really good job. And yeah, you can see that the marketing direction is different between those two companies, like very, very, very significantly. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and if it's on purpose or not, there's a real difference in kind of the culture and brand voice. Like I feel like GMB does it on purpose. Like they're very intentional about their brand voice. I haven't spent a lot of time in the other one. I know what you're talking about. But yeah, even in the little time I spent, I could tell a pretty big difference.
Yeah, I think it's hard to walk the line of being authoritative, and also not too much.
Yeah, and so this is like something I've been thinking about a lot. I've been reading about a lot, been pondering for my own actual personal brand as well too, is showing versus telling. I think that's a huge difference in looking and seeming authoritative versus seeming like an expert.
Yeah, I saw this.
You tell all the time, you feel like a dictator. But when you show all the time and tell just every once in a while, you feel more like someone who's there to help, I think.
Levi
that's the vibe I get from Gary Vee a lot.
Yourself, bro.
I saw that. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about Gary Vee. Like I like a lot of stuff he says. I feel like the older he gets, the wiser he gets, honestly. But like he's just everywhere talking all the time, and so I still have that like, okay, he probably knows what he's talking about most of the time, but back here in my head, I'm like, but I feel like all he's doing is talking on stage, and there's just this subconscious like, oh, he's Gary Vee. He talks about things, which I know he's doing lots of things.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, TikTok, that Vayner Media got the North America account for TikTok for marketing. So clearly he's doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. because I saw this ad on Facebook the other day, and it was this guy, and he's like, it seems like he's trying very hard to be like Jocko, like super hardcore, right? And the message behind it was like, I'm a pretty intense person. I got pretty high standards and stuff like that, and because of that, I've been able to do this and this and this and this and this. If you'd like this, then sign up below, kind of deal. But the way that it was written, like the first line was, "I'm intense,"
Yeah.
and I was like, oh god. So then
Yeah,
I
you
felt
gotta tell me that.
compelled, yeah, I felt compelled to read the rest of the copy, and it was too like chip on the shoulder, like look how like awesome I am. And I don't typically comment on ads unless they're really just cringy. But I commented on that one, and I was like, I like the message, but the copy on this is just horrendous. And it was like 2 months ago, and I've had like 50 likes on my comment on that ad, and some people who were like, "Oh yeah, as a copy person, this is terrible." So
Yes, there's a guy who actually I like on LinkedIn, so I won't name his name, but he's a performance coach, and his style too is like so like stop being such a baby. You're wrong. Like that's a huge excuse. Stop telling like it's always in your face, and he's well meaning. So I've talked to him on Zoom calls and been in different groups with him and stuff, but like he gets a lot of flack for it. He's almost mean to some
mhm.
people who particularly who take stuff like that personally. I don't take stuff like that personally. I'm just like, yeah, there's a better way to communicate that. Um, but I think that's legitimately his like the way he thinks. Like he thinks that's right, and he
Yeah,
cares more about the outcome. No, and when you and I know, you can still care very much about the outcome and find better ways to communicate it so that more people receive the information.
yeah,
Whereas there's people like that go, no, no, I care too much. I have to tell you it right now. This is how it has to come out. It's like,
yeah.
okay, let's talk about emotional intelligence. Let's talk about how you're processing some of your feelings and how those are coming out as words. Um, so that's when you said that we had somebody like that. I think it might be cool to pull up 2 or 3 or 4 people that we follow and have her break down some of their communication from emotional
Ooh,
intelligence standpoint
that could be
and be like,
interesting.
here's what's happening, or this could be what's happening.
That could be really interesting. Um, yeah, so I had a conversation once with my sales coach because so he's part of the Sandler network, and here in DFW, there's five, at least five other like Sandler trainers. And very early on, I was like, man, doesn't it, I mean, because you pay some pretty big money to be in that network. It's like it's 80 grand to buy your franchise, right? And
Yep.
so I was like, man, are you ever mad that you spend all this money, right? And you've been successful, but they just keep putting people in here and keep putting people in the Metroplex for you to compete against? And he looks at me and he was like, John, you taught a lot of people kung fu, right? And I said, yeah. And he goes, how many people? And I was like, I mean, probably a couple of hundred, right? I mean, some people for a day, some people, stay for longer. And he goes, okay. He goes, was there anybody you ever coached or tried to work with that you couldn't get them there, and then somebody else was able to get them there, to like a moment of aha? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, why do you think that happens? And I was like, sometimes you just don't communicate in the way that they're going to get, and that's okay. And that's the point of getting into like coaching, like a building a culture of self-coaching and coaching laterally as early as possible, so that way you start hearing and thinking about how other people talk about these concepts, so that way when you're coaching somebody and the way that it works for you doesn't work, you can shift and be like, well, have you thought about it this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is something I learned in kung fu, right? Because I would be like, well, here's how I think about it. And, I'd kind of talk to them and no aha moment. And then I'd be like, okay, how does my friend Matt talk about this? How does Jim talk about this? How does Sifu talk about this? And then I would kind of shift towards these different kind of personas until the lights went on. And so we're talking about this, and he was like, the same thing happens. Not everybody in DFW is going to learn very well from me. So they need to go learn from the people that they're going to learn with, but that's not my competition.
Yeah.
And my head went
Yeah.
boom. It was such like a
Really
huge
good.
moment.
Yeah, I was actually reading a leadership book last week, and they were saying the reason the only way to grow your company from 1 to 50 million is through other really fantastic people, and that was actually one of the reasons is because you can't teach and train everyone. Not because you're not a good teacher or trainer, but because everyone learns a little different, and there's going to be someone who's a different personality style, trainer style, whatever, manager style, who is going to be better at connecting with certain people. So literally, if you're going for scale, you have to install other people.
Well, and we're talking about this on the show last night.